Welcome back, everyone, to the Cabral Concept. This is our Mindset and Motivation Monday show of the week. Can't wait to get into the 8x3 rule that I believe you should be using in your life in order to live a life of more happiness, more joy, more peace, more contentment. So I want to break it down for you right now. You probably heard different variations of that, but honestly, when I first saw it, I loved the simplicity of it because sometimes our lives can just become overwhelming and complicated. I mean, that's the truth, is that we have so many things going on, and oftentimes too many things to focus on to really be great at everything that we want to do. So my goal is to break this down into 3 different categories, and then over those 3 different categories, how do we separate those into 8-hour blocks? So the first one is, I would say it's somewhat complicated, and that's because at face value, we're looking at 8 hours of honest work per day. And I love the word honest in there. I really do. Because this one can say, well, people are like, I hate my job. I don't like what I do for work, et cetera, et cetera. And I get that and I understand that because everybody needs, well, for the most part, everybody needs to make a living, right? But they're not always doing the work that they love. And so by enlisting in a job that they don't love, a third of their life, right, a third of their day is being used to do a form of a job that they don't necessarily love. So part of it goes back to my episode 3000, where you might love then to enjoy the process. You might learn to love to enjoy the chopping of wood, right? And the carrying of water. The simplicity of these tasks, the duty that you're being asked to perform that does have a greater service in the world at large. It's one way to look at it, but if not, I urge you, I really do, to begin to look at a field that may have more interest for you. Now, in the short term, it can sometimes mean more work, taking a step backwards in order to live a life of more fulfillment. But for most of us, you're going to be spending 8 hours, like I said, a third of your day engrossed in that work. So if you don't love accounting, you're doing accounting right now, and you love exercise, you might want to look into personal training. And yes, you might have to work from 8 to 5 in accounting, but maybe after 5 o'clock, you can work doing personal training, or you can start to do 4 days a week as an accountant, 1 day personal training, or you can work as a personal trainer on the weekends. And yes, I know it's more hours. I know it's all of those things, and I totally get it, but if it's worth it to you, if it is something that has meaning to you, and you want to begin to move in that direction, there has to be a way where you can start to move past the novice phase, that you can get your feet wet, that you can start to work with clients to actually understand the methodology of being a personal trainer, gain a little experience so that you can then get a job. Or you can start doing some online-based client work, whatever works for you. And that's just simply one example. There's a lot of women that I work with in my practice, men as well, but more women than men, at least in my practice, that are working full-time as a mom. And I always say it's literally the hardest job in the world. And it oftentimes, and unfortunate, it's sometimes the most thankless job too. You're raising children, you're taking care of everything at home, you're keeping a million things at the top of your mind, you're coming up with a different dinner plan or whatever it is every single night. There's always so much to do, and so much of it goes unseen. But what we might want to do during those times, and again, I can't put words or thoughts or anything in anybody's head or heart, is to think about, again, the service that you are also providing. That children, I know it was certainly me as a child, you don't even know sometimes how good you have it. You don't even know the service that's being provided to you as a child because you're not in that mindset. You have no relative concept of anything else. And so you don't know the service that your mom or dad or both are providing to you in order for you to be well clothed, well fed. You've got a roof over your house, over your head. You've got everything that you could possibly want. So you have to do that then for what, 20 years before it starts to come then full circle. You're like, oh, yeah, it did pay off. I do have kids that can take care of themselves now in college and beyond. I do have children that are thankful, appreciative in this world for the service that you may have first provided. So sometimes it is being grateful to be in the position but more so understanding that this is a service that you are doing not just for your child, if we're looking at this one particular instance, but the world at large. You're raising a great human being. And it's not easy. It's really not. And they're looking and watching at everything that you do, and you're trying to be at your best at all times. And there's just one slip up, and that's kind of what people are focused on. That's what they're thinking about. But in the end, when we work sometimes, or doing work that we don't always derive the greatest meaning from, is to focus on what is the service that I'm providing, who is deriving meaning from it. Wow, look at how much their lives are being enriched. It is one way to look at it. Another one is this, is that you are, let's say, a certified health coach, or you're starting your own practice like I did back in the day, and everything seems like an uphill battle, like everything. I remember when I opened my first location, I was cleaning the floors, cleaning the bathroom. I was running out to get water deliveries. Like, I just didn't even know any of these things. What else? I was setting up the phone system, setting up the internet, like all these just awful jobs that no one would ever see, right? Just kind of working in the background, just getting things set up. I painted the walls of my first location because I couldn't afford any of these assistants, these contractors that I would have been able to employ. I didn't have that money. I took out a home equity loan on this small condo that I first had in Boston, and I used that just enough for the equipment leases to get started. And yes, it was a big risk, and there was a ton of stress and a ton of sleepless nights and pressure, but it was focused on what it could be. And so sometimes when we're really just in it, that we're in the grind, we're in the day-to-day, think about what it could be. Don't stay focused on what it is right now, but think about what it could and will be, because you have the confidence to see it through. Because no matter what, you're not giving up either way. You're going to make it happen no matter what. You don't necessarily know how it's always going to work out, but you do know that you're not going to give in or give up. So that's the first part of the 8x3 methodology, is the work. Now, if you're lucky like I am, right? So I'm lucky, I'm fortunate, I'm blessed. Took many years to become that way, right? Like, it didn't happen overnight, but I can tell you by my late 30s, early 40s, that's when things started to get, I wouldn't say easy. I don't have easy work. That's for sure. Like, we're doing things, try becoming the first functional medicine global practice. Try to figure out how to ship labs to Australia and New Zealand. That's not easy. Try to figure out all these different things. These are headaches over and over and over. The technology, the apps we've built, all these things are difficult. They're time consuming. They take a large team. They take a lot of basically every dollar that Equilife makes goes right back into the company. It's been doing that now since its inception. I mean, these are challenges. However, I can tell you, based on where I was when I first started out, although these challenges don't get smaller, they only get bigger. I'm better equipped to handle them now. I'm in a better place overall. My happiness, my enjoyment, my enrichment, it's just deeper. It really is. And that changed about 15 years at the very earliest, if I'm being generous, but really 20 years of work. And I know there's a lot of people in their early 40s that are listening to this and beyond and be like, yeah, it took that long. But it's hard to imagine or think of that when you're in your 20s. And it's not like I didn't experience great things in my later 20s and early 30s. I did, but it never really felt like it settled. Like, I never felt like I got settled, but I did. And so I can tell you there is hope if you continue just to stick with it. And one last thing I want to share with you is it's about 3 years in a new profession to really start to feel settled. And so you might say, well, why did it take you 15? It's only because I jumped a little bit. I would go from nutrition to personal training, and then I opened a location. Okay, well, it takes like 3 years to kind of get settled into that. And then went back to school. And then after that, I opened a second location, right? And then I moved into doing a podcast book. And then I moved into a virtual based practice and hired more people. And then I started health coaching certification. So there was always that then, and it just takes honestly, about 3 years. And so when you're looking at it, you have time, it takes time, but you will get there. And And I can share with you that I truly love the position I'm in right now. I love my team. I love the work that I do. So when you have that 8x3, the first 8 is locked in. You've got it. Be thankful. You're without a doubt, you are fortunate. It didn't come necessarily easy, but you made that happen. So now what's the next part of the 8x3? Because there's obviously 3 sections. Well, the next part, you don't want to delay just because you're working on your work, right? Because of your day job, whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's a nonprofit, whether it's a 9 to 5, whether you're a stay-at-home mom or dad, like whatever it is, student, right? Whatever your 8 hours is, work, student, etc. Okay, that's that. But we can't also then let it start to sink into or displace our next 8 hours of the day, right? So we get 24 hours a day, 8 hours basically for work, another 8 hours for family, for friends, for our hobbies, our different hobbies, our health, and our happiness. That's how I like to look at that. And so why did I add happiness there? And it's because not all of us derive our happiness from our work. I love my work. I really do. I derive happiness from it. There's absolutely a lot of stress in my work. I've always worked with, well, I shouldn't say always, for the first, let's say, 18 years old or so, till about 27, 28, was all nutrition, personal training, etc. And yes, I work with some health clients, but not like I started to work then in my late 20s and early 30s and then beyond with some serious health conditions. So what I want to say, though, is that just because I love my work doesn't mean that it is for everyone. So what we also need to do then is start to weigh things a little bit more heavily for the other hours. I have a podcast that I want to link up for you today at stephencabral.com/3013 on the missing 6 hours per day. Now, there's 2 more, but 6 hours are fully yours. They really are. For most people, not all, I'm not saying that, but you'll start to see what I mean. And that's where we then need to go a little bit heavier on, all right, if you don't love your work, we need to dig in a little bit more in these other hours so that you get more happiness from your days and don't just live for the weekend, right? The weekend's a little bit of a different story where you might displace that 8 hours of work with more you time, more family, more friends. And I don't disagree. That's what I do as well. So weekends are all family, all friends, all the time. Like we just had people over last weekend. We swam in the pool. We barbecued or basically like made food, had fun. The next day we saw other friends as a family. We went out to brunch, just activities of what? Like none of it matters, not the spending money or the going out to brunch. It's just the environment that you put yourself in, right, with other people or experiences. And it's the togetherness, it's living life, it's human being, right? It's us being with each other and creating memories. That's really what it's about. So that's kind of that happiness. Now, health has to be a part of it. I truly believe that we need to find a way to dedicate 1 hour a day to our health. Now, that doesn't mean an hour workout, but it does mean 1 hour towards your health. I know it seems like a lot. In the beginning, it's 30 minutes. That's what you're really going for. 30 minutes upon waking, 30 minutes at lunch, 30 minutes before dinner, whatever it needs to be. You do need 30 minutes of physical activity. No doubt about that. If you want to live your healthiest, longest, happiest life, the exercise helps with the body. It helps with the brain. It helps with mood, helps with longevity. It helps with all-cause mortality. We need to do it. And in the rain barrel effect, I talk about this, but really the simplest formula is basically weight training. Could just be body weight training in the beginning. Then cardio the next day. Could just be walking in the beginning, right? And then alternate days. And that's really what we need to be for overall health. 30 minutes more to get out there, getting your up to 10,000 steps a day. We need to be getting in that. I've got lots of podcasts, of course, on this. I'm not going to make it that. But what about family and friends? Not everybody has a family. I love being able to say, yeah, I'm waking up early so that I've got a little bit of me time. I'm showered. I'm ready. So when my girls, though, come out to the kitchen, what am I doing? I'm making sure that I chat with them in the morning. I'm making sure that they have everything they need for school. I'm just any things that they need. I just want to be there. There's no agenda. It's, hey, what do you have going on? What can I help with? All right, let's chat. That's all that it's it. It's that FaceTime. It's being there with them and for them if they do need me. And then after school, they have homework, they have after school activities. My wife's amazing, taking care of them and doing all those different types of things. But then when my work day is done, it is I'm a dad. That's it. So like all those work things, yeah, they're always there, but they have to take a back seat for a moment because it's not more important than my 2 daughters and my wife. And so that's our time. We sit down to dinner. Now, again, this isn't going to work for everyone. I'm just laying out basically how I've done it. It's only one person's way of doing it, but you do have to create your day, how it works for you. It might be taking your kids to practice. It might be you've got 4 kids and you're kind of splitting different jobs and you come together then at night after a long day. You might be eating on the road. I get it. Like there's lots of different responsibilities and lots of different things. How you do life is how you do life. But what I'm saying is for 8 hours a day beyond the work, what does that look like? And it's more just being conscious of it rather than trying to figure it all out. I don't have it all figured out. All I'm trying to do is just get a little bit better each and every week. Assess last week. How'd last week go? Did I spend enough time? No, I was traveling. Okay, yeah, you need to spend a little bit more time. So it's looking at all those different nuances and just being aware. All right, and the last 8 hours is sleep. And you might say, well, I know how to do that. And I get it. And most people do. But the truth is this, it's not just about sleep. And I've got a whole category podcast just on sleep. So if you want those, we'll link them up again at stephencabral.com/3013 or just /podcasts. And you'll find all the different sleep shows by scrolling through the images at the top. But the thing is, most people are tired. They don't have enough energy. They're groggy when they wake up. They need caffeine to get going. And they don't have the same ambition and drive, and even then the energy to be there for their significant other or for their kids or for their parents, whatever it might be. And so I urge you, though, that in order to be all in on your work and all in on life beyond work, family, friends, community, church, hobbies, whatever it is that you enjoy, your own health, right? You need energy. You don't want to exercise if you don't have energy. And energy does come from getting enough sleep. And not just enough sleep, but quality sleep. 75 to 90 minutes of deep sleep, 120 minutes, which is 2 hours or more of REM sleep. Rejuvenate the body, rejuvenate the mind, wake up naturally with energy. And when you do that, life looks different. My life looks different now with way more stresses than it did in my early 20s. I had far less stresses in my early 20s. I really did. But I was way more stressed. I had no energy. I had no drive, no ambition because I was exhausted, right? I had Addisons disease, rheumatoid arthritis, type 2 diabetes, insomnia, allergies, mast cell activation syndrome. I was an absolute mess. Like you can't really be more of a mess. I was a just barely functioning human being that didn't fully wake up until around noon. That's not a very good life, especially when you start work early in the morning, because that was my trade, my job, right? So what I want to share with you is this. Get back your health. Take back control of your sleep as one of those first starting points. I have so many free podcasts on that. And that can then be a catalyst then to wanting to find work that you love or finding more love in the work that you do, as well as taking advantage of those other 8 hours a day, besides the 8 hours of sleep with family, with friends, with activities that you love and that you truly enjoy. So hopefully today's show was helpful. I always appreciate you tuning into the show and of course, sharing it with anyone you believe it could serve. Take care, everybody. Have an amazing day. And I'm back tomorrow with a brand new Cabral concept. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I want to make sure that you're getting our daily content, not missing out on anything. Functional medicine, wellness, weight gain, weight loss, anti-aging, living longer, stronger, and all of the most cutting-edge research. And if there's any topics you want to hear, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Take care.